Welcome back. I'm here with Roger Rees, and I want to talk now about your illustrious career with the Royal Shakespeare Company. 22 years.
Yeah.
At the Royal Shakespeare Company.
I think they didn't want me because my voice wasn't any good, but my voice was very...
And by your voice not being very good, explain that.
Well, I didn't know anything about breathing. I didn't know anything about, projection. Mm-hmm. All these things that you learn, when you're filling houses that 2,000 seats and you're not using a microphone. That's why the old actors spoke like that. They said ticket to ride, because all those ends of words have to go out to the back of the... That's why people wear makeup in the theatre, because the expressions have to reach the back of the audience if it's 2,000 seats. You don't need it if you're in a 200-seat theatre. I watched these people from the dark wings and from the edge of the stage where I was holding a spear, and gradually got into the light myself and tried to use some of their techniques. But an audition in those days for the classical theatre, just like it is for a musical today, you sort of have your book and you can offer them a modern speech and a classical speech, rather like you can give them an up-tempo or a ballad if you're doing a musical. And so I would have a couple of classical speeches and some modern bits from Pinter or something like that.
And Trevor Nunn was the artistic director at the time. Yes,
he had just taken over when I joined.
He had just taken over. So you were new blood. He was new blood. What was the experience like under his leadership?
Well, he was really just taking off, and I was lucky enough to be his leading man for quite a long time. Once I started to. I sort of played Antiphalos of Syracuse in a comedy of errors with Judi Dench and Michael Gwilym and Michael Williams, Judy's husband, and a wonderful group of actors together. And then we went on to do the Scottish play with Ian McKellen and Judi Dench and things. And it was all under Trevor. Then we finished with Nickleby, which we did all together. So it was the same sort of central group of people. It's a very fierce and volatile life. It's very exciting, and it's like being a blacksmith. You forge a sort of career, and it's hot and cold, and it's fierce and pleasant, but it's sometimes the most excruciating experiences in rehearsals and in performance have produced the most beautiful work, and vice versa. Sometimes the most horrible thing, the most disastrous production, can be a really wonderful time. And I think as an actor you learn another thing. You learn that you're loved and you're hated.
By your audience or by
everyone,
critics?
really. By you could be flavour of the month, and then next month you're not so tasty. It's interesting.
At what point in your career have you felt that?
Oh, I think you gradually realise, that's the nature of the game. That you have to rediscover yourself. You can't expect other people to do it. You can't just sit there and wait for the phone to ring. You have to be inventive. Yeah.
When were you the flavour of the week?
When I did Nicholas Nickleby, they went nuts for this production of Nicholas Nickleby. They paid.
Which you consequently won the Tony and the Olivier for.
I did, yeah. And they paid $100 a seat, which in those days was unthinkable.
It was in the early 80s.
Yeah, early 80s and 81, and it was 8.5 hours. So if you think for second, it was actually probably worth it. But it was $100 a ticket to see this story about dispossessed people. Outside the theatre in Times Square, people were sleeping in the gutter. It was that sort of time.
And that's
still,
when Times Square was
bad.
Was not
so
the
it was
greatest.
it was wonderfully ironic. But I was loved, and people took me to wonderful parties, and we met. Ginger Rogers came backstage. You meet Ginger Rogers. It's like an extraordinary thing. You meet prime ministers. You meet Liza Minnelli. You meet everybody. Everybody came. It was the most extraordinary thing. Olivier came when we were in London. People just wept and loved it. It wasn't anything to do with us. We could have been another generation of actors doing it, but it's a great, great story. Very moving. And so I was loved, and I went away to London immediately afterwards to do a musical, where I played a rabbit. And I came back after doing that, and I was in New York, and people would come up to me and they'd go, no. They would sort of They did, because you weren't up on the top of the tree. You know, it was fascinating.
You mean people on the...
Well, they were very nice to me. They were lovely.
People in the people part of the business, or people on the...
Yeah, no, people in the business would go, oh yes, yeah, no, I've dealt with you. You're over. Let me look at the new bright person.
So do you think it's possible to have two shining moments, or two moments when you're the flavor of the week?
Well, in the end, you learn to please yourself, and that's the most important thing. You know. Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true," and I suppose the more you seek that in your life, then you'll do really good work that pleases you and hopefully pleases a few other people too. Yeah.
We'll be right back with Roger Rees to talk about his work in Nicholas Nickleby. Stay tuned.